Welcome guys to End of Dragons Daily, the back and forth Q&A show about End of Dragons. Man, it's coming close, finally. We're into, what, the last quarter before it arrives? Footage in the background is going to be the same as the video you saw last week, but the other half now of the Shinji preview stream. I think this is quite interesting to watch and remind ourselves of, just as we listen to some of the discussion here, because we're on the cusp of the Echovald stream as well. The Echovald Wilds, we've got the Siege Turtle and stuff coming up, so lots of fun things to talk about. So, I don't know whether I'll put this in the title or not, but here, just at the beginning of the video, I want to give you guys some announcements too. Not only are those big pieces of ArenaNet news coming up, which obviously is going to fuel a lot of discussion and I'll be doing shows and stuff about, but I kind of took stock of all the videos and plans and projects I've got going on this morning. I went to Google Calendar and kind of typed out everything I'm doing. So that includes the Final Fantasy stuff, which is about to get into Shadowbringers. That includes, now if you've been watching the YouTube comments closely, you'll know I've got a Super Adventure Box series, just a bunch of little things, which I want to talk to you guys about now. Okay, so let's run through. First of all, you may remember last year I did a playthrough. They announced End of Dragons, and I did a playthrough of Guild Wars 1 Factions. So a lot of you guys listen to my voice, you're probably excited about End of Dragons, but you never played the original game. You never followed original Cantha. You don't know what those environments look like. You don't really know what that story was about. I made a series specifically for everyone in that boat. It was called Guild Wars Cantha Abridged or something, Factions Abridged. And I'll put in the comments or in the description a link to that if you guys want to watch it. Now, here's the thing. I finished that series, and in Guild Wars 1, there is another campaign based in Cantha called the Winds of Change. What you want to do is think of it like Guild Wars 1 Living World, right? So it's like a season of extra content and quests and storytelling that again is building the bridge between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. And in fact, it's especially interesting because the Winds of Change campaign is the last stuff, realistically, that came into Guild Wars 1. Guild Wars 2 released in August of 2012. This content finished in February of that year. So, I mean, there's a lot of really fascinating stuff there. And here's the weird thing. I already have a full Let's Play on YouTube of it. You guys can watch the full thing if you like. But I only really played that once, like back in 2012, a decade ago now. Oh, Christ, the fact that was a decade ago kind of freaks me out. I only did it the one time. And I'm very hazy on a lot of those details. So I am doing, just as we did Abridged for the main campaign last year, I promised you guys at the end of that Abridged series, we would do Winds of Change. End of Dragons itself is out in a few months. I can't think of a better time. I mean, it's perfect. November just started. I'm going to give you guys Winds of Change. Here we are. The time is now. So what I'm going to do here is on YouTube, we will do an Abridged series, but also I'm going to stream the full thing feature-length over on Twitch as well. So you know how I'm streaming Final Fantasy at the moment? Every single stream is going to start with Winds of Change. Now, I've already been looking at the wiki and stuff. I had insomnia again last night, and I was looking. There's like 35 quests in the full storyline. I'm going to do those 3 each episode. So there'll be 3 episodes condensed down into something bite-sized. So here on YouTube, you guys can watch like the abridged version. But for the full thing, make sure you keep an eye out on Twitch because that's like some of the most interesting content I can possibly fathom showing you guys at the moment. It's some of the most contemporary content that ever came to Guild Wars 1. Sorry, that's some of the newest content that ever came to Guild Wars 1. It's directly about how Cantha becomes what it is in the sequel. I mean, what better is there really to look at? And I'm hazy on it, so it's going to be a real adventure, like, returning to that and seeing what they're saying. Just browsing through the lore last night, was quite interesting to me. You know, there were characters talking about how they were going to do all this hideous, immoral stuff, but it doesn't matter because the people of the future, their hands will be clean. There won't be any blood on their hands. And now I look at what ArenaNet's doing with Cantha and Guild Wars 2, and they seem to be this really nice, lovely society and nice people. And it's like, but what was it built on the back of? The Ministry of Purity. It's just going to be really interesting. So anyway, the first episode of that is going to be up on YouTube. I've penned in where each part of that's going to be as November goes along, and I'm really excited to get in on that. So yeah, and in fact, the start of that on Twitch, at least for like the full playthrough, that's tonight. So if you're watching this Q&A when it was recently uploaded, I'm probably live right now, very possibly in Guild Wars 1 doing that. And if you're wondering why am I doing it on Twitch, one of the big advantages is that when you've got everyone there, we can do it co-op, which is something none of my other series did. You know, so we can have a bunch of people playing together, and that should be really, really fun. So, very excited about that. Another little announcement. I mean, this is almost like a tack on, to be honest. But I have some Super Adventure Box videos coming up. Where this comes from is I was looking at Patreon a few days ago, and I've made some changes with Patreon, where I am still going to continue offering. So just so that you guys know, if you follow me on Patreon, that's really where I get my money from. That's really how I'm able to make any videos. If I didn't have Patreon, none of this would exist. I mean, seriously. And I desperately do encourage anyone to go check it out. There's always a link under every video. And I offer some like rewards for people that go to Patreon. If you are generous enough to support me there, I kind of want to give something back. And that has been exclusive content. So some of the exclusive content that I've done is every year when the Super Adventure Box comes out, I have filmed a Super Adventure Box series that is exclusive for a whole year on Patreon and Patreon alone. And then when the next year comes out, I release the previous, right? So that's how that's worked. So fast forward to this most recent April, I completely forgot. I don't know what to tell you. I completely forgot that I'd done that. So basically, I have a series about the Super Adventure Box in which I was gathering all the blue coins and doing some of the new races events, all the newest stuff with SAB. And I never even posted it. I just forgot to post it. So I've realized that now. So there are 5 Super Adventure Box videos coming out. And I know that looks a bit weird, but, I mean, when else are we going to put them up? So, hopefully you guys have fun with that. I'll be watching those comments very closely. And actually, when I upload them on YouTube, I'm watching them myself. So, please don't be disencouraged to watch those. That'll be quite fun. And, hey, there's something kind of special to me about putting Super Adventure Box content up the exact opposite half of the year when the Super Adventure Box is actually playable. And yeah, that'll be blue coins. And there's like this big episode called the Long Lost episode. Anyway, 5 videos of those are coming up. And then finally, speaking of Patreon, the next episode of this show is going to be a super Q&A, a special Q&A in which people on Patreon get to submit all the questions. You can give me massive walls of text. I'll answer anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be just about End of Dragons, whatever's on your mind. And we'll do a nice big extra length special one of those because I want to get back on those. And now that I've got them penned in on my calendar, this should work better. So I am taking regular questions in the comments below. But really what I want to do is remind people about Patreon. I don't think I did it all summer. I think the last time I mentioned it was like May or something. So here I am for the first time again mentioning it now. If you guys are interested in it at all, please do consider going over there. And hopefully I get a good episode out of it. So yeah, tons of stuff going on. And there are other things as well, but I'll talk about those more as they actually start coming out because I don't want to overload things and set up expectations and then, you know, dissatisfy people. So there you have it. That's it. That's the announcement portion of the episode. Let's get in on the Q&A. And the first one I'm picking is kind of associated with the announcements. We're doing the tier list. Now, earlier today, I did the Path of Fire tier list, and I'm thinking it's going to go on break now. I'm thinking it's going to go on break because I think the best time to do the Grand Melee ranking is after Beta 4, and if not after Beta 4, maybe even after the actual launch of End of Dragons. I mean, isn't that fair? But if you guys like tier list content, it's like, what other tier lists can we do? That's where Piece of War comes in. I noticed there were some thumbs on this. What do you guys think? You should do Living World map rankings. Like your favorite maps, metas, environments, atmosphere, etc. Now, I think that's a pretty fun tier list. So I'll bounce that back at you all. If people want to see that, I will do a tier list on this. And maybe I'll see how the viewership goes. This is tricky, though, because what are we saying? Just the map, or are we saying the whole patch? There is a distinction there. Like, I can imagine a tier list that's just the patches. You know, maybe we rank all of Season 2 and then all of Season... I don't know. But anyway, if you guys just want maps, that's a cool idea. I'm trying to stir the pot here. What tier lists do you guys think would be most fun? And sponsor other people's ideas. Put thumbs ups on them so that I know. And yeah, that's cool. There's probably a lot of things we can go with. Anyway, nice idea there from Piece of War. I thought I'd open up there. Next, we got Sylvan Creed Marsh, the match for discussion. What changes or adjustments to the Virtuoso and the Catalyst would you like to see before the launch of End of Dragons? I'm really happy you asked this because here's the weird thing. I feel like I've given so much feedback on my general vibe of the elite specs, but I feel bad because it's not. I don't think I've said anything really constructive about the elite specs. Not really. So here's something constructive, and I've sort of muttered vaguely about some of these ideas before. Let's open with the Catalyst. I think the Catalyst is like a ticking time bomb of an elite spec in that it's probably a lot closer than we all think it is. I really do like the idea that we really give a massive crap about combo fields. And now we've got this cool tool. The Orb is a combo field generator. I think they want to double, triple, quadruple down on that idea of it. And the idea that, like, Ellie was always fun to use with fields and stuff already is cool. And that accentuates a part of the combat system that I always like. That's the combo field and finisher area of it. So, yeah, that's what I want to see. Really look at the orb. Look at the energy mechanic for moving the orb around and maybe rework that. This was some feedback I provided back during Beta 2, and I still believe in it. I would say make the orb work a lot like sand shades. I mean, really. It doesn't have to be as complicated as it is. Make it like an ammunition. Imagine you're playing a Scourge and you have Greater Sand Savant, right? Just make it feel like that. Give it ammunition. It slowly recharges. It can stockpile, and you can move it around. I mean, the other idea as well is to maybe make it move like the Ventari tablet. Ventari tablet's a weird one, but I think it is pretty functional, generally speaking. One thing I really like about the idea of the catalyst is when you're standing not near it and you swap element and you see the orb changes element. I think that could be really fun. You know, in my Path to Fire tier list today, I was talking about like the totem playstyle of Scourge and the totem playstyle of Renegade. And I still feel like that's not fully satisfied. And we have Ventari too, so maybe just look at those as previous examples, see what worked about them. I think they tried to do too much with like the mini energy bar and the cooldown every time you replace it. It's all about the orb, guys. Once the orb is figured out, everything else starts to flow with the catalyst, and I think it works. The other thing I would say is I think rework Hammer 3. Put that on Weaver. It's a Weaver thing. Come on. Give it to Weaver. Figure out something else with Hammer. Reassess where those combo fields and finishes are, because your access to them feels a little bit tricky right now. And I think generally you're okay. From what I could tell, Scepter Catalyst felt pretty cool already. And Dagger Catalyst felt pretty cool already. Staff Catalyst maybe needed a little bit of work, but that's probably a bigger story about ranged played styles on Ellie. And there you have it. The thing with a Catalyst that people don't like is that it's a melee thing, and we all wanted a ranged thing. And I don't think they can fix that. So just let's live with that error, if we're going to call it that, air quotes, error, and maybe look at those other areas. Because I really think it's, like I said, a ticking time bomb. It's just got some weird little functionality implementation issues in how clunky it is. Once we get rid of access to the orb, and that's where it really comes down to, and access to the fields, I think maybe it'll be more fun. I mean, Hammer's a bit tricky, because how often does applying that CC feel really fun in PvE? Not that often in Guild Wars 2, and you know that's going to be a problem with the Untamed as well, I think, to a degree. Then also the idea of the Virtuoso. There's a lot of really basic things. First of all, Distort. Virtuoso Distort I think should be completely different. I don't like dying to Condis in that. I don't like having to melee for that. Like, don't give me a point blank range Distort when the rest of the kit feels like it's trying to be super ranged. Likewise with the dagger main hand stuff, I want to see more range on that stuff. I feel like this is a ranged blade thrower. I feel like play more with ammunition. Whoever made the, well, maybe I shouldn't phrase it that way. Whatever went into the Blade Sworn with all of its ammunition stuff, that's what I want to see on the Virtuoso. You know the Blade Sworn's pistol offhand? That, I feel like, is Virtuoso, except it shouldn't be bullets, it should be mind blades, it should be dagger throwing. Give me a dagger thrower. And I'll tell you what, if they were going really extreme with it, rename it to, like, the Scion or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm too obsessed with the name of the things. I can totally understand that if you guys are feeling that way. Maybe all of that's the same. But, I mean, look, maybe cull away the singing and dancing kind of sides of it. Cull them away so that you can do a proper bard down the line. Stop trying to mix and match both of them. Those are kind of flavor or theme issues with it. And then finally we have the idea of the Condi line. I'm in the camp of wanting the Condi line to exist. I really am. And I feel like maybe they can play with those bleed interactions and make it work a bit more. But it will always just pale in the shadow of the Mirage. So maybe it's just a terrible idea to ever consider. I mean, we've got to consider, guys, that there will be End of Dragons only people. There are going to be people who don't have Mirage. Shouldn't they feel like they have a Virtuoso Condi line? Should they not be designed for to some degree? I mean, I can buy that argument and that perspective. We're not all veterans that have played everything and everything. I mean, really, the most important thing about End of Dragons is it starts looking at their fresh blood. And the Bloodson line for the Virtuoso is fine. It caters to them, right? So what are we whining about? There's a part of me that wants to say that. Next, one of you guys has a fun little idea. I'm sure it came up in the past, but I'm particularly captivated by it today, so I'm going to highlight it again today. Ikapi said, hot take, I can't help but have this small thought on the back of my head, telling me that the new legendary weapons are going to be dyeable. It would actually solve this whole problem of the entire set being the same for a lot of people, and it would surely make plenty of us who are currently completely uninterested in those change our minds. This is a thing, make it happen. Yeah, the idea of an Aurene set, because it's the End of Dragons, and Aurene is the prismatic representation of all the dragons, making them dyeable, I mean, it kind of works. I feel like dyeable weapons only at the legendary tier is going to get hated on somewhat, because people will make the inevitable, and I think unfair, comparisons to Guild Wars 1, and they'll say, well, it was all free everywhere in Guild Wars 1, why do we have to pay such a premium for the experience in this game? But I don't know, I can kind of buy this, you know? The dyeable backpiece stuff through the Path of Fire era, once upon a time, I never believed that would come in, and there it is. Why not dyeable weapons? That's a whole new avenue. I see that not just as a potential way of salvaging the Aurene set, but I actually see that as a mechanism for decent rewards the whole way through this new era of the game. After End of Dragons is over and they're doing Live in World or whatever, and it's like, well, why am I beating this strike mission? What's the fun reward I'm going for? You know, I've talked in these videos about the idea of actually getting mounts as drops and stuff, but dyeable weapons, you know, of specific flavors and varieties, I think can work as well. That's probably better to me than what we saw in the Icebrood Saga, where there's a million collections and a million variants of the same essential skin thing. It's just, you know, this one's volcanic and this one's icy, blah, blah, blah. I think just have a dyeable one, that kind of works to me. So, yeah, I like this idea. And you know why I think I'm especially captivated by this now, today? It's because I'm playing Final Fantasy. And Final Fantasy has helped me, for the first time in so many years, I'm seeing better what Guild Wars is good at. I can see the industry and the landscape better. And you know what Guild Wars 2 is great at? The dye system and the transmutation stuff. It's really good. So leverage what the game's great at. Bring it over to the weapons. I see nothing but positive from that. Speaking of mounts, here we have another frame who says, I would love it if they retroactively went back through at least the expansion maps and added mount skins as drops or collection rewards thematically tied to the environment. The Auric Basin would have the Exalted line, Tangled Depths the Bioluminescent line, Desert Highlands either the Alloy or the Primeval one, Varby could have the Awakened line, and so on. You know, I never realized how beautifully these lines match like that. That's how I think they should incentivize more play on content while not having to compete with the gem store, but rather utilizing what they already have. I think another form here, sorry, did I say your name wrong a second ago? Another form? I think you've just stumbled onto one of the most brilliant concepts that I hadn't ever thought about enough and could be the salvation of this game. I'm not joking, okay? When I look at, like, really tricky stuff about Guild Wars that eternally upsets me and feels like they can never go back on, the gem store contaminating reward schemes and incentives is one of the top things on my list, and I have very little ways of really considering how the devs can fix it. But I think you've figured something out. I think, yes, the specifics of your idea here, we all want to earn mounts in-game. I think that's great, right? And the idea that you can match mount lines to specific maps, I think that's great as well. You know, bravo, that all works. I have very little to add to that. But what I want to talk about is just a basic principle here that surely Guild Wars can do. Gem store stuff comes in, it's sold on the gem store, and it's exclusive to the gem store. So, like, they add a new outfit, the Venom Bite outfit's the newest one that just came to the game. That's the only place they can get it. They get their sales because it's exclusive to the gem store. Not many people are going to have it because it's only there, and you need 2,000 gems or whatever it is, right? And the same with the really big epic mounts. And then, here's the new principle. There is a wait. 1 year, 6 months, I don't know, whatever they feel won't hit their bottom line. After a long wait, there is a guarantee this stuff becomes earnable in-game. It's just on a delay. So what you're paying for in the gem store, what the premium is for, is instant access before everyone else. People will still pay for that. They'll still earn real-world money from that incentive. But these skins and things, these tangibles, can now be used to go back and incentivize players to do old content or new strike. There could be rewards on new strike missions and stuff. And yeah, it would kind of suck a little bit that some of these items have already been available just in the gem store. But it's still really good, right? I think this is a really good idea. I mean, it's kind of close to what they do with, you know, the idea of a strike mission drops a wardrobe unlocker or something. But it's more specifically figured out. This is something I definitely think that Guild Wars and ArenaNet should look into. Because then we can have mounts coming in game. And here's another key thing about this. Instant access. The gem store is giving people instant early access to skins. When the skins come into the game themselves, they can still be behind collections. They can still be behind lots of gold and stuff. So, you know, there's still this idea that they're earning the real world money from people. It's still going to be difficult to get the gems, to get the mounts and stuff, but they're using it to cross-pollinate players across earlier stuff. I mean, this is really good. That initiative should definitely be at play, right? It's funny. Again, here I've got a tool because I'm learning about Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy does the reverse, right? Where they'll give you something in-game and then it's like time-gated at sunset. And then eventually they put it on their Mog Station, their gem store. I'm saying do the reverse of that. Surely that works. Is there a problem with that? As long as everyone knows eventually this will be in-game, maybe that hurts their initial revenue a little bit, but think about what it does to the product as a whole later. I mean, surely that would be better. So anyway, I love it. Great thought, and any opportunity to get mounts in-game, I would adore. You know, if I can buy the Demon Skimmer for 2,000 gems today, or it's going to go away from the store forever, and when I do it later, it's going to be like getting a full legendary. At least there's now basically a legendary mount in the game, and it's earnable, right? I'm probably going in a loop here, but I like it. There's something brilliant there. And finally, we have Lucky Peanut, who says, so glad to have these back. Me too, man. There was too many breaks over this summer period. Since the Echovald is now a Wilds, do you think the Kurziks are still going to be around? How do they adapt? If the trees went back to the wood, did the jade melt? How did that affect the ecology of the Luxons? Well, I'll say it again. I like the idea that one of these societies is gone, and it kind of looks more and more to me like the Kurziks are gone. Listening to them talk about that Untamed lore and how it's more Warden and Urgozy side things, instead of Kurzik, I can sort of see that. And the look at how it's all Dragon Jade, and yet no one's doing any technology or talking about Amber, which was kind of on equivalent footing. Is that because the Kurziks got blown up? I like the idea that between the 250 years, the Kurziks kind of ticked off the Wardens or something. Or the Wardens had been scheming. Urgos himself had been scheming. And they managed to get rid of the Kurziks. And the Empire, you know, that's a vassal state. They should protect them. But the Empire kind of threw them to the wolves to a certain degree. Maybe because of the activities of the Ministry of Purity or something. And the Kurziks kind of got screwed by history. I really like that idea. And so that's why it's the Echovald Wilds. That's kind of my fingers crossed. I think that would do a lot for the world building and would be very fun. There's also kind of a conspicuous lack of Luxon discussion. But you can just say it's because, you know, these societies have kind of been folded into Cantha itself, and it's all one big race and one big nation now, which is a way of looking at it, but I don't think a very fun way of looking at it, because it removes more and more facets from the setting, which I'm not too keen on. But yeah, I think that would be fun to look at, and that's before we even get into all the Sylvari connections. And you talking about this and me thinking about this just makes me extra excited about the Echovald stream the devs will do very soon. I mean, it's next week, right, guys? Where we'll finally get to look at this place, and I think we'll have our answer very soon. You know what I'm really excited about on that stream as well? Just the idea of seeing some fishing in the Echovald forest. I don't know why, but that's a keen thought I have. So yeah, on this note, guys, I want to sponsor for the next episode the Echovald Forest. Okay, that's going to be, let's do it, let's dedicate. If you at any point throughout this video have already paused and left a comment and a question, that's cool. Don't worry, I'll bank it and we can use it. But I also want to say, as we leave this video now, let's do the next big topic, Echovald Forest. I want to hear any of your thoughts on that. I want to do a highlight episode specifically on that. Anticipation for the stream coming up. What do you think we'll see on the stream? What are you most excited for? I gave you a little bit of an idea there. We'll dedicate a whole thing to that right before the stream comes out, and we can continue on that track. There's also, as I mentioned at the start, going to be the Patreon dedicated episode. So check out the description for that. Keep an eye out for the Super Adventure Box. Winds of Change as well. Oh, God, I'm giving you guys way too much, aren't I? But hey, you might find I'm live on Twitch right now with that. So yeah, just thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm incredibly blessed and incredibly fortunate to have you guys watching me through all this cool stuff. Thank you very much, and I will see you very, very soon for lots of juicy things. Take care now, guys, and have a great evening.